Today we will be covering the Zonex system overview and wiring. Here we are looking at a bird's eye view of the Zonex control system. The Zonex is a networked majority vote based controller which utilizes a mobile app to connect to it via your local area network or through your cloud connection. Zonex controller supports up to 20 thermostats, whether it be zone thermostats controlling a damper or standalone units to help give you a complete building management system. Here we have a Zonex wiring diagram that we'll be going over in more detail. The Zonex controller should be installed with inside the conditioned space and accessible to any personnel, IT people, or anyone that might need to get to it for ongoing maintenance purposes. The Zonex controller is a 2-heat, 2-cool gas operation controller or a 2-cool, 3-heat heat pump operation controller. The Zonex is powered by an independent 24-volt 100 VA transformer that wires up to the TR1, TR2 terminals in the left-hand corner of the board. Please note we are polarity sensitive and we want to make sure that the hot leg of your transformer wires into TR1 terminal. On the TR1, TR2 out terminal, we're going to carry that 24 volts in a daisy chain fashion using 18 gauge thermostat wire, which will daisy chain to the first zone thermostat TR1, TR2 terminal on its subbase and continue that daisy chain all the way through until we dead end at our last thermostat. Along with daisy chaining the 24 volts, we are also going to daisy chain our RS45 communication cable. This is a Zonex spec cable and should be supplied to you with your order. This will wire in off the A and B terminal in the bottom left-hand corner of your Zonex controller and will wire to the A and B terminal on the subbase for your first zone thermostat, and you will continue daisy chaining in and out of that A and B terminal until you dead end at your last thermostat. Each thermostat will control its own damper using 18-3 thermostat wire. You will wire from your MC, RO, and RC terminals from your subbase up to your actuator and land them according to their call out. So MC, RO, and RC. The Zonex controller is also supplied with 2 sensors. One of them is your leaving air sensor. This sensor should be installed in your supply plenum before your bypass. The sensor is critical to the operation of the system and is utilized for staging as well as capacity control. There is also a return air sensor that should be installed into your return air duct to give us readings on your mixed air. When wiring up your Zonex controller to your rooftop unit, you'll be using 18-7 or 8, and you will just match up the terminals accordingly to your rooftop unit's operation. So R to R, Y to Y, W1, W2, G. On the bottom right-hand corner of the Zonex controller, you'll notice that there is an Ethernet connection for the controller. You want to make sure that a cable is run to allow for the controller to be plugged into their network. We recommend running a Cat5 shielded cable to help minimize any potential for noise being brought down on your network connection. The Zonex board is also equipped with a Wi-Fi chip. This chip is used for startup purposes and allow your device to connect directly to the board and commission it without any network present, so you can get your system up and running prior to having to wait for their network to be installed. Here is a bird's eye view of the Zonex control system working with additional zone rooftop units utilizing the Zonex RM controllers. The Zonex is the central control point and communicates to the Zonex RM controllers over the RS-485 communication. Here we have an overview of the Zonex control system wiring into additional RM controllers. Utilizing the Zonex communication cable, you will wire in at the bottom left-hand corner on the A and B terminals of the Zonex controller, and you will daisy chain that to your Zonex RM A and B1 terminals in the bottom right-hand corner. For additional Zonex RMs, you will wire out on the A and B terminal out, and you will continue daisy chaining your Zonex RMs together in this fashion. Here's an overview of the Zonex RM wiring. Like the Zonex controller, the Zonex RM gets its own independent 24-volt 100 VA transformer that wires into the TR1, TR2 terminal in the left-hand corner of the controller. We continue the power from the Zonex RM off the TR1, TR2 terminal out, utilizing 18-gauge thermostat wire that is daisy chained to and from each thermostat, landing on the TR1, TR2 terminals. Along with the 24-volt daisy chain, you'll wire the RS-485 communication cable that Zonex has provided off the AB2 terminals on the Zonex RM board and daisy chain that to and from each AB terminal on your zone thermostat. Each zone thermostat will control its own damper. You'll wire it using 18.3 from the zone thermostat, MC, RO, and RC to the damper actuator, matching up the terminals, MC, RO, and RC. The Zonex RM comes with two sensors. One of them is your leaving air sensor and should be installed into your supply plenum. The sensor is critical to the operation of the controller and utilizes that leaving air temperature for staging as well as capacity control. The second sensor is your return air sensor and should be installed in your return air plenum, and this will give you your return mixed air reading. The Zonex RM controller wires up to its rooftop unit or split system, and utilizing 18.8 or 18.7, you'll wire up and match the operation of your unit that you have. So Y1, Y2, W1, W2, R, and G. This concludes the overview of our Zonex and Zonex RM control systems. If you have any additional questions or need any help, please contact our technical support at 800-228-2966. For additional material on the Zonex control system, please visit us at zonexproducts.com. Search Zonex, and you'll find all additional material, installation manuals, and submittals that you will need for the system.